your laptop, but you won't be limited. You can read everything. At least that's
TweetDeck apparently isn't limited either.
well. There you go. A TweetDeck. You can get all the news. You just have to uh, work around it. The Iron Curtain has not
I heard
fallen
the total
across
opposite
Twitter.
about TweetDeck. I heard the complete opposite, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I used to use TweetDeck when uh, I used Twitter professionally. Now I'm just here on Twitter for Ukraine and MriyaReport. That's the only thing I actually care about. Uh,
If this continues, we're going to have to figure out something. That's because people not signing out of one laptop or whatever it is isn't going to be a good solution, right? For most people, I'm way signed out. I've barely been on Twitter on my laptop in a while, so it's not about me once again. But that's not going to work long term. I know this is just come up, but it's not going to work long term.
Well, if it carried on long term, then Twitter would cease to exist. It's not going to be a long term problem. It'll be the final solution, or there will be a solution.
If
exactly.
necessary.
Thanks for tolerating my level of irateness right now.
Well, everyone's mad at Elon and Twitter. It's understandable. But if necessary, David, MriyaReport will set up shortwave radio transmitters all around the world. And then we'll just have to get people to buy shortwave radios and listen to us that way.
Remember those days, right? Sitting around the radio.
I do. I had a shortwave radio growing up. Absolutely loved it. Because of two things. It was a way to get into geography, because when you turned on your shortwave and pulled in Radio Sofia, for example, well, where is Sofia? It's in Bulgaria. And where is Bulgaria? Oh, wow. I wonder if I will ever go to Bulgaria anytime in my life. And the second thing you learned about um, was weather, because what radio signals you pulled in on your shortwave radio depended a great deal on the density of cold fronts, hot fronts, etc., highs and lows. And I also listened to air traffic from Gander Air Force Base almost every single night. It wasn't Deutsche Wells. It wasn't Radio Sofia. It wasn't even Radio Moscow, which I also pulled in from time to time. But it was a lot of fun to have a shortwave radio. I have taken a terrible detour here, David. I guess it's because it's a Saturday night of a long holiday weekend. We have Hawaii, we have Claudia, and we have Carl. Hawaii.
We do.
Good afternoon. It just broke after 12 p.m. here in the islands. And Woke, thank you so much for bringing that up. I know that there's been some, a lot of turbulence regarding Twitter, but I know that, there'll be other venues if something happens. I know a lot of the journalists are on post, and I think that's going to be probably the next step. But I wanted to bring up a question for David. So I was on yesterday, and I was talking about NATO, and obviously Vilnius is coming up, very massive opportunity here. I don't want to talk about Ukraine joining NATO, because I think that that is not going to be the real big news. But there's been rumblings across the board from Blinken and from Stoltenberg and from others high up, even retired intelligence officers like H.R. McMaster's, talking about that there is going to be some significant news of support for Ukraine from the medium to the long term. And so I know that NATO has been helping to train Ukrainian soldiers since 2014. I know that they are in the process of switching them over from Soviet weapons over to NATO compatible weapons. But this sounds like there is going to be some big news, and I'm wondering what are the possibilities, because obviously we don't know what's happening behind the closed doors. And I know that they want to keep the secret and basically come out with a bang. And so I just wanted to know, what are some possibilities? Because we already know, again, training we've already done. We already know that there's weapons coming in. But what are some, from the military standpoint, or security guarantees outside of Article 5 and NATO? Because I think that's completely separate and that's going to be a long-term thing. But what are your thoughts on this?
Then my thoughts are the security guarantees. I think that's the important part, right? Outside of NATO, that's fine. And a whole load of countries just get together and go, "Yep, okay, Ukraine, this is what we will do," right? So they provide that cover, and just go, if you are attacked again, we will join in and defend you, right? I think I think that would be the absolute brilliant solution, and that would hold until they're in NATO. Whoever's doing that, the UK did it for Finland and Sweden. I think it did it for both. I say, don't quote me, but I'm saying I think I think they did, right? So, but certainly Finland. And if they give those guarantees, then does it really matter whether it's a year or 2 years or 3 years until Ukraine is able to establish itself in NATO? And importantly, right at the point where this conflict finishes, and that then becomes the red line for Russia, doesn't it? Okay, if you keep on attacking Ukraine, well, guess what, right? Ukraine's got it's brought the family in, and the family's going, no. I think that would be ideal. As to whether they're going to say anything else about equipment, I don't know. I've put into, if everyone looks at the first post in the Nest now, there is a tweet there which is saying it's unconfirmed that there's Ukrainian pilots who are training on Black Hawks in Latvia, which would be very interesting, right? And then, oh, guess what, right? If only we were to find out that they were training on Apaches as well, and that would be a whole level of change there.
And roughly, 24,000 Ukrainian troops are being trained a month. It's really more than that, and this is over 6, 7, 8 months' time. Ukrainian troops being trained on new Western weapons that are being supplied, and on tactics. In some cases, these are veteran Ukrainian soldiers. In some cases, these are new recruits, because remember, Ukraine has increased its military sixfold. They have almost 800,000 Ukrainian citizen soldiers fighting against Russia. This is a sixfold increase in the Ukrainian military. It has occurred over the last 500 days. So it's a new force, but it's a well-trained force, and it's a motivated force. And it's very much like a NATO army. It's even better than a NATO army.
Yeah, and I'll wrap up here. But I completely agree. I know that Zelensky, in his address to the Rada this week, I think it was on Constitution Day. Oh, happy Canada Day to all the Canadians out there. But when Zelensky was, talking to the Rada, he was saying that they're already starting to create weapons internally. Obviously, it's not enough to make an impact on the war, but the industry is starting up in Ukraine. And I just Secretary Blinken was at the Foreign Policy Council in New York 2 days ago, and he was basically asked the question, what is coming up? And he basically said the post-Cold War era is clearly over. There is a new paradigm, and that decisions that they make this year will have implications that will, impact for decades to come. And so I think something really big is coming with NATO here. And so, yeah, thanks for all for all you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Hawaii. Next is Claudia. And I'm so happy, Claudia, you are with us. Also happy I finally followed you. Apologies for taking so long, but we will continue our cultural tangent here, David. Claudia.
Thank you, everyone. We have still tonight's performance. This is for people that are in Southern California or will get on a plane and get to Costa Mesa, Orange County, California in time for the final performance, the 1 p.m. Pacific time matinee. It's Giselle, choreographed by the great Alexei Ratmansky, who was a lost soul during the early part of the invasion. I don't want to tell people stuff they already know, and I'll expect that the host will tell me this is already known. Cut in at any time. But he did, for the Pacific Northwest Ballet, choreograph Wartime Elegy. And the reason I'm bringing that up is the performances of Giselle, Alexei Tutunik and Elizaveta Gogitze they are two principal dancers at this United Ukrainian Ballet Company. I had an opportunity, and I gave it to both of the hosts, the link of the show, the interview, and when I tweeted out my privilege of interviewing them on June 20th. So it's a very lovely ballet. It is a blue check, Leif Schreiber's Ukraine blue check fundraising, and the Segerstroms are very well known in the Orange County area. The widow of Henry Segerstrom, Elizabeth Segerstrom, is originally from Poland, and people here they're realizing, oh my God, she's Polish originally, and that explains why this immensely privileged woman is paying it all forward, and she's been working with this company since last fall. I want to offer a little background on the company. They were formed in, I'm not sure exactly what month in 2022. Igone de Jong is a former principal dancer in the Netherlands, and she was able to round up these refugee ballet dancers in The Hague and settle them there, and they from there have been working with Alexei Ratmansky and others to be cultural emissaries for raising funds and awareness for Ukraine. And you'll see there are military conscript eligible male dancers, but they were given a special dispensation to perform in these series because of the importance of the Ukrainian cultural broadcasting. So I had a chance to speak with Alexei Tutunik. I don't think he's as active on Twitter as he is on Instagram. I recommend people go to his Instagram account and follow the man. He dances and he's posting amazing general information. He's so involved. So Alexei Tutunik, one of the principal dancers in Giselle, the man I'm mentioning, you can follow on Instagram, reached out to a Ukrainian combat veteran, an amputee, and I won't say anything more about, he is the kind of, it's a surprise contribution, a production. After Giselle is performed, there is the curtain comes down after all the curtain calls, and then it comes back up, and they do perform a bit of Alexei Ratmansky's Wartime Elegy, and they feature this Ukrainian combat veteran. I won't say any more because it's a spoiler if I do, but I just wanted to make sure anybody in the area in Southern California, I've been really wanting to talk about this. This is the only time in a year and a half I've ever spoken on the Maria Report. And I want you, I recommend listening to the podcast that I produced myself. I'm solely responsible for that. I'm pretty proud of that. And I was very happy to ask questions. I don't think anybody, not even here on this platform, the combination of questions are mine. I take a great deal of pride in. And I also want to give a nod to all the data points that I've gotten from the MriyaReport that have given me context and insight and some cultural, I don't know if it's, now the word is cultural competence and a better one is cultural humility. And I didn't know if I could go places with these dancers, but watching what Alexei Tutunik has been posting, I realized I can bring up Mariupol and I can bring up what is coming back to Ukraine. So I don't know if there's any questions about the performance. As I said, 7 p.m. Pacific time is tonight's second to last performance. The final performance is 1 p.m. It's at the Segerstrom Hall. I know I'm getting hyper local, but I know there's thousands of people that will listen now or later. And this is a performance. They are all Ukrainian. They're from different companies, but united in this particular company. So thank you for this opportunity to promote it. I'm going to see it 3 times. I don't get comped this time. I'm paying for 3 different tickets because it is so incredible. And I'm also there to see how the audience responds and supports these dancers who have the opportunity of performing. And this makes me super emotional that while they're performing, they have a moment to not think about war trauma, but think about the high art. You will never see a Giselle as dialed up as this one. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Claudia. And it is a reminder to all of us listening here at MriyaReport, Ukrainians defending their country from Russia's genocidal invasion come from all walks of life. There are artists, there are musicians, there are teachers, college professors who actually conducted their courses from the trenches of Bakhmut. And correct me, you may know about this, Claudia, but I believe the conductor of the Kiev Opera or the Odessa Opera, I can't remember which, enlisted and serves, and he may also have lost his life. I'm not certain about that.
Alan, I don't know about that one. I did ask Alexei Tutunik in the interview Elizabeth Gogitsa, she has Georgian parents, was born in Kiev, though, that I do know. I just had a mind. I don't know about the opera conductor. I do know. Oh man, I just run that by one more time. I don't know about the conductor, but I wanted to say something in the institutional setting. Go ahead.
No, continue, Claudia. I'm just saying that Ukrainian
the dancers.
citizens.
Right.
Yeah.
So I asked them in the interview about, I had only pulled up the name of the dancer that died in the Bakhmut, the Bakhmut battles. This dancer was killed in April, but the one Alexander Shaparov he was killed in action. He's a dancer killed in action last fall, and Alexei Tutunik knows him very well and knows family members, and that one hit really hard. And to what everybody knows in this space is, as Mr. Tutunik said, it's really hard to talk about that. He said, but we must talk about it. So Ukrainian, that refrain. But I can't help you, Alan, with the conductor, but I could talk about sort of those intimate connections that the dancers made when they were speaking.
Again,
before we Oh, sorry, Alan. Before we do, I'm going to point out something. So, Alan, I think Woke puts a tweet into the nest. I'm just going to remind everyone here, right? So, when we bring you up as speaker in the Maria Report, whilst you may have the ability to put stuff in the nest, we really don't like it when you do, especially if you just put it up and we don't ask us. Normally, we would request everyone to send us what they want to go in the nest and DM it to us, and we will put it up ourselves after we've looked at it. Because going in the nest assumes is taking it over and saying, "Yeah, this is what we're supporting." We don't know what we are, what is being pushed up into the nest. So please don't do it. I will, if Woke comes up next time I'm on here, I will remind her. And with that, I think. Yes, I think fella, you're here.
Yes, I'm back. It's a surprise to me as much as it is to you.
Well, pretty much everything is a surprise to me. Oh yes, I've taken another breath. I'm still here. It's a surprise.
Indeed.
Anyway, with that, so what I'm going to do is, because it's pretty much on time, I believe I say 30 seconds early, if we're okay with that, fella, I'm going to drop down. I'm going to say good night and Nostar to you all. Have a very good, have a good time. It's a bit of a no news day, so it might be a bit of a struggle, but I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, David.